Hey guys, I don't really know what else to say besides just donate what you can. The month is almost over, and there's a lot of people who could use your help. Regardless, I hope I was able to educate you, or maybe if you have a problem, you realize there is help and there are options out there. Donate today, and remember, you are loved, you are wanted, and you got this. Now on with the video.
Must get plowed by sun.
Well, they can't all be winners. Yes, that episode is included. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, their worst episodes, and to make it fair, only those from the Fox era. Now, the Fox era of American Dad is remembered fondly. It's when the show started picking up steam and found its footing, and basically became king of the hill on high fructose corn syrup. American Dad has a lot of good episodes, but also a lot of bad ones, because honestly, there is no such thing as a perfect product. Now, I'm gonna level with you guys. Some of these episodes I really do despise for the life of me, but some of them, well, I do like. It was hard separating me as a critic from me as a viewer at times, but I did try to explain myself each and every time. So let's discuss. Here are the top, I think like 12 worst American Dad episodes, starting with...
Oh, cut it out, Roger. Tonight was a bust. We were the only ones in period costumes, and your gibberish got me punched in the boob.
Okay, I'm just gonna lump these episodes together because honestly, I find them all really forgettable. Which shows you, like, there's always gonna be one episode you forget exists. At least until you actually watch it, remember why you forget it, and then go right back to forgetting about it. And with American Dad's Fox era, it's these episodes for me. The Unbrave One, License to Tell, and DeLorean Storian. And they all feature Steve. What a coinky dink. Actually, it is, because I totally don't mind Steve. He's actually one of my favorite characters. The point is, for one reason or another, I find these episodes majorly forgettable. Like with DeLorean Storian, I cannot tell you anything about the episode. The only part I do remember is Roger talking to Franny in French gibberish, and Franny actually replying back in perfectly legible French.
Je le m'assois, mon le casa, von le casa le chou.
Elle est dérangée avec nous.
Ouais!
Which is weird, but this episode feels like a rehash of Camp Refugi, if they couldn't think of anywhere to go. But the sad part is, I do like the ideas for these plots, it's just that I don't like the executions themselves. So again, they earn a spot. License to Tell I actually might have to rewatch because I eventually want to do a video on Steve and Snod, which might be a tad unpopular, as I feel like both are holding the other back from success for selfish reasons. Snod because he tends to parasite off of Steve, and Steve because he wants to be king of the nerds. And this episode is a good case study on that, albeit not as bad as the one with their future selves. Whereas with the Unbrave One, I don't totally mind the episode, I just can't remember one thing about it. Besides Glenn Quagmire was in it, but I think the plot of Steve trying to become a superhero is actually pretty cool, just not for the reasons he did it. So, it's on the list.
This is okay. Easy mistake. Anyone could make it. I'll throw this away and forget about it. This is just between us, Roger, all right? It will never happen again.
Never again.
Okay, this is more of an honorable mention, but it's just that I don't feel right not including it. I mean, I think it's an okay episode, and it does make me laugh, I just don't really like the message. Mostly because the message is pretty obvious, I feel, and I don't think Stan really needed 22 minutes learning it. Like, this would have been a way better subplot.
Oh my God. You helped him, and it didn't make him weaker. It made him a better thief.
What? Asking for help is normal? Who would have thought? I know, Catherine, right? To Stan, asking for help is bad, whether it be from a government program to just asking for help from freaking joking. Because in this exact episode, he almost lets Haley choke to death just to prove a point.
See? She saved her own life. Oh, 3-second rule. Ah, Haley, you know I don't like turkey sausage. Why'd you give me this?
Stan has a cold, which he doesn't want to ask for help for. Which, fair enough, honestly, episode. There is technically no cure for a cold. You can just make the symptoms a little less annoying, I hate to say. For me, personally, what always helps is a warm bath and some antihistamines. But Stan doesn't know that, and he's offered a magical cure by a random guy in tattered clothes on a park bench in the bad part of town.
Whoa! Any chance I could get some of that cold medicine to go?
Sure thing. No need, pal. First time's free.
Woo!
Which, despite what TV will tell you, no, the first taste is not free. That is a lie. Believe me. Hey, that rhymes. And I know what I'm talking about. I'm from Newark. So, in a nutshell, this episode is about Stan becoming a bona fide crackhead, which is a good premise, I hate to say. Since Stan is so stupid, he doesn't realize the obvious. I mean, how can he? Whenever they cut to somebody doing drugs, they always cut away, I guess because standards and practices. Plus, as he says,
CIA agents are supposed to distribute crack to the inner city, not smoke it.
so Stan is the reason. Wait, I can't think of a good joke. You guys do it for me. But the episode has a few problems for me, which honestly, it's not unwatchable, just kind of like, oh god, this episode. One, I don't like how obvious the lesson is, which again, I feel that's why I would have made a way better subplot. I mean, I wish it were something like Stan has to learn to admit he has a drug habit, not just needing help in general. I think another reason I don't like this episode, outside of the humor, is an episode I feel did it better was Live and Let Fry. The episode covered the trans fat ban back when it was still popular, and it was a pretty unique take on the concept, because they showed that most trans fat bans, you could just go to the next town over. Sorry, King of the Hill. I know you said trans fat should not be banned, but you basically said because we said so. But this episode made the point that while the bans did suck, well, considering how Steve had a heart attack from eating cases of trans fats, they're for a reason. Plus, Dan, in his path of trying to earn more money to fund his habit of eating graham crackers, ends up ruining Steve's chances with a girl, which Steve does not forgive him for.
I will hate you until the day I die.
Sure thing, kiddo. Camping sounds great.
Good for you, Steve. Good for you. Also, nobody's willing to admit that Haley has a legitimate problem, and unlike her father, she's actually asking for help.
Mom, while we're here, I really think I should check myself in for my pot problem.
Just stop it, Haley.
Screw you, Franny. In a good way. Okay, no, we're moving on.
Stan, I outcoached you.
Dad, why did you do this?
Because I lost.
Don't you think that's a bit of an overreaction?
Admittedly, this isn't a really bad episode. It's just that I have some very strong opinions on it, and I don't think I could have made it through this list without including it. Now, as a critic, you start to reevaluate past episodes you used to like, since a very sad fact is you can't watch anything the same way ever again, because you're just gonna critique the hell out of it. Because all you see are things the writers missed, like, oh, Stan would never act like that, or oh, why is he doing that? Even for something stupid like SpongeBob, I do that all the time. And American Dad is not free from that. Honestly, this was the episode I always thought was pretty good until I became a critic and I started thinking critically when it came to judging episodes. In the episode, Steve tries to join Stan's football team, but Stan realizes, wow, Steve is like the human equivalent of a toothpick in a tornado, and he cuts him from the team despite, you know, being his own son.
You're a loser. You lose at things. But hey, here's a chance for you to help us win by not playing. High five!
Jerk. Can't you just make him like the towel boy or something? Or the water boy! Oh my god, remember that movie? This event makes Steve cry, which is perfectly natural, I hate to say. Crying is a perfectly natural emotion. You should be able to express it regardless of gender. Like Inside Out said, everybody comes to help because of sadness because it lets other people know when you need help. And Roger, who was also hurt by Stan and cried a bunch of times, says the only way to be even Steve and Anita's is for Steve to somehow to get Stan to cry, which Steve says isn't possible.
I'll tell you. Your dad made you cry, Steve. So we're gonna make him cry.
But Roger, I've never seen my dad cry. I don't think he can.
Oh my god, he's cried before, like in front of you, Steve. Off the top of my head, Roger Codger. He spent the entire episode not crying because the CIA made him believe that crying was a feminine emotion, and it made men seem weak, but the family made him realize that crying was fine, especially since he was going to kill Roger, who he loved. But honestly, it's not that bad, I'd argue. I mean, maybe Steve just doesn't remember all those times. Steve and Roger are able to make Stan's team lose, but as it turns out, when Stan loses, well, rather than just realize it sucks feeling those emotions, but you can just use it as a chance to get better for next time, or reflect on it being one loss, his version is to take his own life. Wait, what?
Bear cub. Abandoned.
You know what's sad about that? No one killed the cub. Cubs make good eating. Sliced thin on a Ritz?
But Steve is able to talk Stan off the ledge by using empathy to appeal to him and showing why crying is natural.
What a wonderful alternative!
Told ya.
Yeah, no duh. There's also a subplot, which if you watched my videos, you already know my opinion of. This should have been the episode itself, since outside of episodes like A Little Extra Scratch, which is a TBS episode, or Helping Handies, which is a Fox episode, we don't get a lot of Francine and Haley episodes. We get a lot of Francine and Haley moments, but not one-on-one moments. Francine is entering the annual pie contest, and Haley of course hates it, because it's misogynist, or enforcing gender stereotypes or whatever, I don't know.
This whole business of baking contests for women is so 1950s. Why don't you get back your right to vote while you're at it, Mom?
Oh, I guess that means I can't have Betty Crocker for dinner because of Haley. The pie contest means a lot to Francine because she always loses against a Maris Crane type individual named Carlotta Monterey. That sounds like a stripper name. Weird. It's gonna be Roger, isn't it?
Haley? Mom, it's not what you think. I'm cooking meth.
Oh, really? Then where's your muriatic acid, You're making pies!
Oh wait, it's Haley. Haley is a hypocrite? I kind of expected that too. But rather than have the episode be about the pair sabotaging one another, or discovering how and why Haley became interested in pie making and did it so well she annually beats out her mother, we focus on Stan and Steve, which honestly is not the best. Again, this would have been a really good subplot. I have many questions, and Roger even says at the end he's been subtly working against Franny and Haley, which gives me further questions. Like, there was a whole episode where Roger pitted the two against each other so he could record their fight and then win a t-shirt. Like, I would rather something like this. Like, this would have been amazeballs. Fun fact, this was the first episode of American Dad I ever watched. Was that a good thing? I will let you decide. The Hurricane episode premiered at the tail end of the Hurricane arc, where all three of Seth MacFarlane's shows had episodes revolving around the main characters dealing with a hurricane. Like the Browns trying to convert Junior back to Christianity, or that Family Guy episode with Meg. With American Dad, it's the Smiths trying to literally survive the hurricane, not survive boredom. And honestly, out of the three episodes, despite the, I guess, stakes being upped, this one really hurts. Not as bad as the Meg episode, but I do find this one the most out of character. Like, it was written by somebody who only had the bare bone idea of American Dad and went from there. See, the Smiths don't prepare well for the hurricane because Stan doesn't prepare well for the hurricane, besides his college javelin. All of his attempts fail whenever he tries to contain it or whatever. Like how he harpoons Francine.
Francine, a man's most important duty is to protect his family. So please, just trust me. I won't let anything happen to you guys, okay?
Okay.
The thing is, I feel like how he's dealing with it is massively out of character. Like, maybe you could make the argument it's because he lives in Virginia, so he isn't used to hurricanes. It's just, it feels weird. I don't know. Stan literally has swords and guns stationed around the house in case of burglars, for instance. He has plans in place for when Steve starts puberty. I mean, he had a plan to deal with Szanto one Christmas by basically having the family go into a coma. I feel like he'd be better able to weather something like a hurricane, especially since he works for the CIA, a government program, and he could have access to all kinds of cool tech. It just feels weird watching this in hindsight. With no context, the first time I watched it, it was hilarious, albeit I kept wondering why Roger was dating Ryan's roommate from Wilfred. Like, I thought she was a main character or something. I was like, why is she in this? And even watching it now, I find that whole subplot hilarious.
I'll wash it for you. I just want to wear it for a while. It smells like us.
It's just that the whole episode feels like, again, it was written by somebody who never watched American Dad before. So it's like weird. Like, I don't know a better word for it besides weird. Maybe they had to write it differently because it was part of a marathon and they do have the crossover at the end, but eh.
We have less than $200 left. What are we supposed to eat?
Potatoes and rice. Cheap and enough to last us the whole month.
Oh god, I hated this episode ever since I first watched it at like 12 or 13. Now, American Dad started off as a political show, mostly to make fun of Republican policies. But much like South Park, they do try to humor both sides as best they can, even if they do admit that they are made by liberals and therefore have a liberal bias, but I am willing to hear them out from time to time. However, the show gradually phased out the political stuff beyond the occasional moment or episode, with less money, more problems being one of those times they didn't, and arguably it's the worst in my opinion. Jeff and Haley live with Stan and Francine, and honestly, even if some people in my comments disagree with me, especially nowadays, it's not that big a deal if you still live with your parents as an adult, even as a married couple. Stuff is expensive, cultures play a role. I mean, some cultures is basically like 3 family houses. It's not a sign you failed. Plus, you can use it to save money, or to help out with costs or whatever. I mean, if I didn't live with my parents, I probably couldn't afford to go to cons. But Haley and Jeff aren't exactly grateful that they get free room and board, especially considering how they initially scammed them, and Stan was very close to cutting them off for good. Normally, Jeff and Haley are obnoxious around Stan to a degree, but to make a point, this episode rams it up to a 12. Jeff himself keeps Stan up all hours of the night, uses the bathroom when Stan is there, and uses up all the syrup when Stan asks for it.
Can I get the syrup?
Oh, sure thing, Mr. S. Let me just...
That's it! I can't live like this anymore! He took all the syrup! I asked for the syrup, and he took all the syrup!
Speaking of, the episode where Szanto tried to first kill the Smiths had Jeff reveal he hates Stan too, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's pulling all of this crap on purpose to, like, you know, mess with him, and acting stupid so he can get away with it. Stan loses it, and I hate to say it, he has a point. Stan doesn't care that the pair are living with him, especially for a conservative like him, that is huge. He just cares that they're being considerate, and considering what they're doing, they are not being considerate, or at least helping out a little bit. And rather than apologize, since hey, sometimes people don't know they're being obnoxious. They're just like, yeah, no, sorry, it's not our fault. But Jeff and Haley say they both want to move out but can't afford to, which again is fair, especially nowadays. Haley is in school, and trust me, it sucks doing both school and work. You try juggling 3 different lives. Even if Craft Community College canonically has a dorm and likely also married housing. Plus one episode made the point it was only like $80, so I'm sure they could afford it. And Jeff himself only makes minimum wage, which back then and even today is not enough to live on.
Jeff's already working double shifts.
I'm only making minimum wage.
Give me a break. The minimum wage is plenty for you guys to live on.
No, it's not. After taxes, Jeff only makes $938 a month.
So of course the episode is arguing in favor by saying that minimum wage is not enough to live off of, which again, I 100% agree with. I have worked minimum wage jobs, they suck. There's no respect, there's little pay, they suck. But I have problems with this presentation. One, who they chose to give the message, because when you do a plot like this, who you choose to espouse the message can very much make people want to agree or disagree with the message. Why should I listen to these two considering everything I've just seen? 2, the fact Jeff and Haley themselves don't have to learn a lesson, because that would have made the episode a bit more balanced. When, like I pointed out, Stan was very fair with his statements. The pair don't learn that maybe Stan himself has a right to complain. And 3, how do they go about delivering the message? Since I feel like a better alternative should be that maybe Stan thinks minimum wage is enough, since growing up it was for him, but nowadays that's practically peanuts. Remember, Stan took care of his family finances growing up. When he lived with Francine, they lived frugally, because, like I said with Mr. Pip, they traded in Mr. Pipcan so Francine could buy a wedding dress. I could see him being able to live on minimum wage, at least to some degree, or being like, wait, $900 isn't enough nowadays? Admittedly, it's not that bad of an episode, I'd argue. I love the subplot with Steve and Roger test driving a car. I just feel like the main plot itself is very clunky and kind of irritating, so it earned a spot.
Stan, we just finally got Steve off the heroin from the last birthday present you gave him. I got so high.
Fun fact, this episode is a mini Buffy reunion, but since the cast each record in isolation outside of table reads, and I don't know if most guest stars go to table reads, I wonder if Sarah Michelle Gellar and Allison Hannigan actually interacted during this episode. This episode has Stan forget Steve's birthday, like his 12th birthday this time, like really, how old is this kid? And as it turns out, he's rarely if ever there for Steve. Heck, he wasn't even present for Steve's birth. Haley had to be there, even if he totally was, considering I Am the Walrus, so strike one episode. But Stan decides that if he can't be there for Steve as himself, well, he'll be there for Steve as somebody else, since the CIA has an avatar program, and Stan decides to pilot the avatar of a teenage girl named Phyllis.
Wow, I don't believe it. This is too good to be real.
Of course this is real. And this is really happening. Because this is real. Really, really real.
Who kind of looks like that later season background character with the red jacket. Now, admittedly, this is a good start to the episode. Kind of like Can I Be Frank With You, but much more unique. In a bad way. A really bad way. Stan can spend time with Steve, and Steve can have a friend. A girlfriend. As in, a girl who happens to be a friend. Kind of like a big sister, I'd argue. I mean, they even have the heights down.
Good night, kiddo.
It's been a blast.
Yeah, it was great.
But Steve starts losing Phyllis's attention when he falls for a new girl named Chelsea, who between you and me, I 100% think Steve should have ended up with. They're on the same wavelength, they have the same interests, she's adorable.
Oh, that sounds like fun, Steve. I'm free whatever night that is.
Oh, great. You can have these, because I don't want to go. Hey!
She really reminds me of me when I was in high school, especially considering the carrot top hair and the glasses. And they're just so cute together. But Stan, as Phyllis, tells Steve that if he dumps Chelsea, well...
I'm looking for something more than friendship.
If you go to the dance with me,
Feed the fish.
with you.
Okay!
Excuse me? Alright, I'm sure you think he's just lying, but no, he's 100% serious. He fully intends to do this to solidify their bond with Steve. Like, even Bullock is off-put by it.
I've already missed so much of Steve's life. Plus, I get to be there for...
Feed the fish. To you idiot!
And you know when Bullock disapproves of you, you did something wrong. Like, no, that's disgusting. Like, gross. Like, I don't think I need to tell you why it's gross. Betty really rubbed off on you, Stan, in the worst way. Or that they're gonna do it on school property. I think in the same classroom where they met. Like, ew, mega gross. No. Ew, gross. No. Gross. And it's not like Stan realizing, oh crap, I need to go through with it because he just made a bluff, because no, he's 100% cool with this.
Except I will be locked in eye contact with my son while he plows my cyber soil.
Thankfully, Francine is able to talk Stan down by telling him that even if he wasn't there for Steve most of his life, well, he can always start to make an effort.
But you can still be there for his next 14.
He's gonna die at 28?
Maybe sooner.
You really needed to be told that, Staniel, but I guess it's good you didn't do that, and Steve at least unknowingly gave you karma.
'Cause you could do better. A lot better. See ya!
Just a minute! Francine, what a nice surprise! What brings you to the neighborhood? Can I offer you something to drink? Half a can of Tab? Rainwater?
This episode taught me to never buy a car and just walk everywhere. What if you have to go to LA? I will walk there. And King of the Hill taught me that you never pay sticker price. Stan is a CIA man and occasionally an interrogator, but strangely, despite working for the CIA, he doesn't employ torture. That's weird. He just looks for an easily exploitable weakness.
He's got a wedding ring, but his shirt doesn't match his pants, which means his wife has stopped caring.
Gotcha.
Which I think is a cool take on the concept. Stan has not had to get his hands dirty. He just has to do it quick and precisely. However, this approach doesn't work when it comes to buying a car, since Stan only occasionally flexes this skill, whereas a car salesman does it on a daily basis. So Stan gets tricked into buying not just one car, but multiple cars.
Ah! Why does this keep happening?
I mean, it's good for Steve because he and his friends almost score by using the cars as a drive-in movie experience, but obviously it's a drain on their resources and income. And Stan even loses his job because the salesman gave him the yips. This causes Stan to go into exile and become homeless, leaving his family to pick up the slack. Two really horrible results. Nobody paid the power bill, so they probably don't even have power or running water. Francine has to get a job as a maid where she spends all day getting yelled at.
We weren't even in the kitchen.
No dinero today.
But we worked for 12 hours.
You want me to call INS? You comprende that? Yeah, you do.
They barely have anything more than a Cheerio to eat, and Haley has to sell her body for grocery money.
Wait, who's he?
Steve, stop bothering your sister. Haley, you did good.
They eventually encounter Stan at the grocery store, where he curses out the salesman, who offers him a discount on his car. The salesman gets him off the hook, and as it turns out, this was all a bluff. All to get a discount on a car. A slight discount, if at that.
Dan!
Any car we need, I will pay for with candy.
Stan, your family's in bad shape here. Let me help you. I'll set you up with that femwagon. I'll even knock off $10 a month.
Not even a free car, or a bunch of free cars, or, maybe selling the cars for profit. No, just a very, very, very slight discount. So, let me get this straight, Stan. To get a discount on a car, I already went over that, you put your family through the ringer. You didn't tell them why exactly, because I'm sure if you told them the plan, they would be cool with it. And the end result was, you just got a discount. Not the salesman fired, which would actually be pretty good karma. No, just a freaking discount. Stan, I am terribly disappointed in you. Really, dude. And I only bring up if Stan were honest, they'd be cool with it, Well, considering Widowmaker, where Stan was finally honest with Francine about why he kept the secret and she was cool with it, they would be cool with it here. I think it'd be funnier if he at least told Roger or Francine and the kids were the ones who didn't know, because maybe they aren't good actors or something. Like maybe Haley could be like, I need to help bring in money. Haley, don't you dare. Give it a week. We'll be fine. As it stands, Stan has taught me I don't need a car to be happy, and I don't need Cheerios.
Bad man remind me of caretaker at orphanage who touch us with rake.
Oh, Michael. Accent.
American Dad and Family Guy both have queer rep, but at the end of the day, I feel like American Dad does it a bit better, because they will feature queer characters but make the point that they are people, and they can be stereotypical, but the joke doesn't go on for too long, and they're not as obnoxious. However, A Boy Named Michael was probably the one time I immensely disliked Greg and Terry, and it makes another episode kind of seem correct, I'd argue, for lack of a better word. Like, goes against the message in the worst way possible. Roger is worried that the Smiths aren't cultured enough for his taste.
Ugh, quit pretending you're something you're not.
I know exactly who I am. I wasted years in that double-wide trailer you call a house. You've given me nothing, and I deserve everything!
Roger, shut the hell up. You ain't cultured, you stop teasing. And he begins to envy Greg and Terry, who seem to have it all. I mean, Libby is a baby and speaks French and only French.
So what do you say, little miss?
La vache a une poste verte samedi.
I'm gonna have to talk to your French teacher.
Which admittedly is a good callback to them making her trilingual to appear better to colleges, but you know what I mean. You know, from Spelling Bee My Baby, but I'm getting off track. Roger discovers that Greg and Terry are adopting a Russian boy named Michael, hence the title. And he decides to take the boy's place by killing him.
Извините, здесь туалет.
Right here, honey.
Okay, then, it kind of seems like the kid would be better off in that case. Now, I hate to say it, an episode of Roger getting adopted by Greg and Terry is a pretty good premise, since as much as they try to hide it, the pair are pretty crazy themselves. Not as crazy as Francine and Stan, but crazy nonetheless, and I feel like Roger would fit right in with them. But then we learn that Greg and Terry are massively flawed, and not flawed in a good way like it adds to their characters. They basically treat Michael, and by extension Libby, like glorified show dogs. It's the worst. For instance, Michael, the second he gets into the Corbin Bates house, can't have an accent anymore.
But you're gonna have to lose the nasty accent. It's nasty, nasty. Sure, no problem. How's this? I told you he'd be a genius!
The trick to parenting is patience.
When earlier, during the plane scene, he was speaking only Russian, so, you know, that's like easier said than done. Does that mean they adopted a Russian boy without getting to at least know some of his language? Like, what if he came in not knowing a lick of English? Like, that's terrible for a kid. Especially since if a kid needs to learn a new language, they're gonna go silent for a while. And they also helicopter parented Michael, even before we got there, so intensely that they laid out his entire life story, like that mom from The Little Prince.
Yes, and this is 400-year-old wood, so you have to sleep very carefully.
Yeah, try not to put all your weight on it. Snuggly.
And keep in mind, they don't know Michael is Roger. They just think that he's an actual child. So imagine them doing all of this to their actual son. Later, Roger learns that Terry at least isn't cultured, which makes sense considering who his dad was. Maybe, unlike Greg, he had a more quote-unquote normal upbringing, I hate to say. He immensely disapproves of Greg holding them all to impossible standards, and occasionally does secret things with the kids like eat junk food when Greg is gone. But rather than simply tell Greg, he blames everything on Michael, and later plans to kill Michael and get a child so Greg won't find out about his secret.
If Greg talks to him, Michael will out me. I'll lose everything. I have no choice. Before they can talk, I have to kill Michael.
Normally, Greg and Terry are some of my favorite side characters, since it's like what I said. I like how they can be stereotypical, yet also the straight men. That is oxymoronic. Yes, sometimes they can be crazy, but so is the rest of the block. They fit right in. And I like how in the TBS era, at least, Greg just becomes crazier, like when he joins the Cherry Street Neighbor Haters Club and he always brings cocaine. But normally, their version of crazy is, say what I just said, or Terry doing the Can song because somebody homaged grease in his kitchen. Not like trying to kill a kid, which is bad for a reason. See, in Surrogate, Stan massively objected to the idea of a gay couple having kids, since he believed the child would grow up messed up, because they'd grow up out of gender roles, but he learned to let go of this belief since a child only really needs love. And honestly, I hate to say it, this episode was one of the reasons I started to come around to gay rights when I was a kid, because I grew up thinking it was wrong, and then I realized, like, oh, all you really need is love. And I kind of grew up in an alternative family, so I was the same way. The thing was, to learn this lesson, he kidnapped Libby and 2 other children to bring them to, I think, Nebraska? AKA a place where gay couples had no legal rights to their children, so he could just throw them into an orphanage and call it a day. So basically, you're saying that Stan kind of had a right to take Libby away from her father's, considering the implication that if she doesn't live up to their impossibly high standards, well, what could possibly happen? Or that contrary to the episode's message that showed that Greg and Terry would be good parents, like to the point where they spent months trying to get ready, or Greg was terrified he was somehow going to mess up his daughter, that they turn out to be terrible parents in a kind of different way. That sucks, episode! Oh well, I do use this episode as justification for why Greg left Terry. Since Roger ends the episode haunting Terry, maybe he tried to run away from his crime or whatever. I can only hope.
Terry thinks he killed you and it doesn't faze him at all? That's just the end of it?
I wouldn't say that.
You didn't kill anyone today.
I don't think you've ever killed anyone.
What are you... I've totally killed people!
Stop insulting my intelligence, Joe! Stan works for the CIA, and as a result, his job often involves him killing various targets, all in the name of national security. But what if it turned out he never actually killed anybody? Well, that obviously can't happen because, wait, they made an episode on that? Well, dang. So in the 42-year-old virgin, Stan confesses he never actually killed anyone, for the CIA or for pleasure. All of his kills were genuine accidents he took credit for, especially his most recent one.
Roger, I've never killed anyone. Don't you want to know how that's possible?
Oh. Yeah, sure, we can talk about your thing first.
Which, okay, episode, no offense, I've been pretty good so far that I feel like there's no such thing as a bad premise for the show, but I'm sorry, I hate this premise, it makes no sense. Like, I'm sorry, it makes literally no sense. Stan has killed before on screen. I mean, I can understand if this episode aired in season 1, but even then, Stan canonically killed Steve's dog in the pilot, and he wooed Francine by mercy killing a raccoon. So, yes, canonically, he has killed. Maybe you can say he canonically never killed a person, but he has on screen before by accident, or he set someone else to be killed by his own actions. So even if Stan never killed anybody by his own hands, by technicality, he has killed before. Please stop lying. But Kitty, it's a multiverse. Remember that one episode? Yeah, it was in the TBS era, sure, but I am beginning to hate that excuse. I can get it for certain episodes like Tearjerker, or the one where they go to the Old West or stuff like that. And I guess for a show like Rick and Morty, it's usually okay, but for something like this, I find that excuse kind of lazy. Because now, they can just make any mistake they want and just be like, oh, it's a multiverse. No, that's a lazy crutch, guys. That doesn't automatically handwave everything, and it's kind of a lame excuse. I do think the episode could have been that Stan learns his original kill was never actually killed, and he gets the yips, like that episode of How I Met Your Mother. That would stick to canon without actually breaking it. And I know American Dad isn't big on continuity about small stuff, and I'm usually fine with that. But stop telling me this is true when it isn't. I've seen it!
Don't be scared, it's just a legend.
Is Grandma still sad? There's the matter of 2 bounced $10 Christmas checks to attend to.
Nope, still milking it.
Stan's mom is a horrible, evil woman, and I eventually want to make a whole video on her like I did with Jack. Oh my god, I love her voice actress though, but Betty is a monster who ruined her son, and the show needs to acknowledge she's the reason he's so screwed up. No wonder she barely appears anymore, if at all. At least the show acknowledges Jack was terrible as a parent, and even he admits it, until they undid all that during Ghost Dad, but eh. Edible panties, oh my god, I just realized that's like, I spent years wondering what that meant. As Betty, Stan's mother, get dumped by her latest boyfriend. Whenever Betty gets dumped, well, she goes to the Smith house to cry on Stan's shoulder, and he often neglects Francine and the kids to care for his mother.
Hello? Mama!
Oh, no, not again.
Stay right there. I'm coming, Mama. Mama's new boyfriend just left her. Can you imagine?
However, there's something important you need to keep in mind. Stan's mother always gets dumped after 3 dates, and not a Betty, this isn't working out type of deal. They basically disappear in a puff of smoke when she has her back turned.
This happens with every gentleman I see socially. Maybe I'm just unlovable.
Fishing.
What's that, dear?
You're fishing!
Ooh, pattern recognition, eh? Now an episode of Stan's mother coming for a visit and Francine being rightfully jelly isn't anything new. Even Roger points out it's cliche as all heck. Good thing he's an American dad! As it turns out, Stan's relationship with his mother is it makes Norman Bates' mother look like a sane woman. He should definitely go see a therapist about that. She and him have an enmeshed bond so powerful that they take baths together. Like, oh my god, say we want about Leanne Cartman, she does not take baths with her own son. Stan is the one to clean his mother. Oh my god. And they can get kind of affectionate. And she doesn't even care or be like, Stan, we can't do that. Like, no. Like, in a later episode, they even kiss when he's, like, about to leave for the day. Ew.
I told you it was complicated.
Now, changing planes at O'Hare is complicated. This is just... Franny, what is this?
Yeah, that ain't, like, weird at all. Or they're not from a culture where that's perfectly acceptable, like Portugal. It's weird.
Our relationship is completely normal. And if you keep upsetting me, then I'll have to retreat to my safe place between her breasts.
Yep, it ain't weird like that at all. Ignore my previous comments. Totally normal. And now, after this review, I need to go wash my eyes out with bleach. But don't worry, it gets worse. Because they imply Betty knowingly does this because she likes the attention from her 40-something son who has his own life. After Jack left, she outright told Stan it was basically his fault that his father left, and Stan stepped up to take care of her.
Is it my fault? Stan, look at me. Kind of.
Don't worry, Mama. I'll take care of you.
I know you will.
Which she did not object to. Like, Stan is a 10-year-old kid in this scene. I mean, I think he's 10. He's probably even younger than that. And now he's being expected to not only provide for his mother by doing everything his father was too lazy to do, like taxes or whatnot, he also has to serve her emotionally. Like, that's a lot to put on a kid, and she did not object at all. Like, oh, yay, Stan. No, Stan is a kid. Let him have a childhood. That's parentification and emotional incest. Oh my god, they really took emotional incest all the way, didn't they? Both of which are mega forms of abuse. Stan basically lost out in a childhood because his mother was selfish. And the show never blames her for it. Not even this episode. They just blame Stan for things being weird when clearly he grew up thinking it was normal. Like, obviously he shouldn't be doing all of this stuff, and obviously he shouldn't dump Francine the moment Betty comes a knocking, but at the same time it's also on Betty. To stop Betty from taking over, Francine tries to set her up with her butcher, Hercules, and they seem to hit it off. But as Roger learns, something bad might befall Hercules, and all because of Francine. Since Betty's dates apparently don't just leave her, because honestly at first I thought she was just lying for Stan's attention. No, they disappear, like they're all missing.
Missing. Me buying chocolate and Solvang. Missing.
I don't understand.
They're not breaking up with her.
Does Betty kill them? Honestly, that would make sense. I mean, her son is a CIA man. No wonder she always goes to his house crying about something. She's a guilty lady. Francine stops Hercules from getting potentially murdered, but as it turns out, besides being emotionally abusive, Betty is innocent. Stan is so warped by her that he has started stealing her dates and did it as young as childhood.
Or I can stab him in the neck.
No!
Don't touch my mommy!
What do you think you're doing, young man?
Saving you?
Admittedly, I do find that line reading kind of hilarious, but still. Eventually, Stan tracks down Hercules and is ready to do something terrible, but Betty is the one to tell Stan he needs to stop.
But Mama!
You've been the perfect son, but I finally have a chance at happiness and I'm taking it.
What about me?
I mean, it's good you're already telling him, but no apology, no nothing. Yes, Stan is a grown adult and responsible for his own actions, but the reason he is so warped and doing all of this is because of you. It all goes back to you. So if you need any more reason to hate Betty besides American Stepdad, this should be your reason. She messed up her son, and the episode and the show never blame her. But honestly though, because I don't really want to get loud, I think the subplot might turn some people off. I mean, for me it's perfectly fine, it's just I know for some people it's gonna be a little gross. Klaus lies and tells Steve that he craves physical affection because being a goldfish and all, he never gets it. But in the process, Steve winds up with fish herpes, aka ick. Everybody starts avoiding him and his fish herpes, and he's forced to spend time with Klaus. But as it turns out, Klaus knew all along he had fish herpes and how easily treatable it was, and he lied so Steve would be forced to spend time with him.
Fish can't get herpes, can they?
Which, if you didn't get it by me saying fish herpes, it's like purposefully giving somebody an STD when you know that you have an STD. Admittedly, I don't think it's as bad since, unlike Betty, Klaus at least gets karma from Haley, but if you aren't into gross out, then you're not gonna like this episode, because it's a major gross out.
sorry. I'm taking a creative writing class, and I can't turn it off. Like a fire hydrant, gushing onto a hot summer sidewalk.
I want to give this episode a full-on review so badly that I might actually do it one day, because it really goes against a good portion of my videos, and it really portrays Stan in a bad light, like more so than usual. Like, it's immensely out of character, it's frustrating. Stan learns that the CIA is employing a new alien bounty hunter to capture Roger, Shannon Sharp, and he also learns that Scarlet, his old CIA Academy crush, is in town. Clearly, Scarlet isn't a CIA alien bounty hunter. I think you see where this is going. Scarlet is the CIA bounty hunter.
We've gotta catch up.
Yes, come over for dinner. I'm married, but most people get divorced these days.
Now, one thing I prefer about American Dad to Family Guy is that the married couple actually does love each other, or they're similar people on the same wavelength, where they might argue, but I can get why they're still married. This episode is arguably the lone exception. Seeing Scarlet brings back all kinds of emotions for Stan, romantic, lustful ones, and he makes it perfectly clear more than once that he essentially wants something terrible to happen to Francine, that way he can have Scarlet all to himself. Like, he'd rather take this lady he knew in passing over a 20-year marriage.
I'm gonna go. Doesn't matter, you're not paying any attention.
I don't know, surprise me.
Ugh.
You ever wish someone you know would die?
Stan, have you met Francine? I'm sure if you asked or invited her, she'd be cool with Scarlet. Plus, really makes episodes like when a Stan loves a woman come off as kind of hollow, I feel. Which sucks. That's one of my favorite episodes. It proved just how much Francine meant to Stan. That while he was willing to get physical with other women, and even that he needed like major coaxing for, because Francine gave him permission, he wouldn't be romantically involved with them. Like, I think Joanna he just saw as a really good friend, not like a wife. Things get worse when Stan essentially sells out Roger to an alien bounty hunter, if it means that he himself can have Scarlet.
Shannon Sharp, if you want to catch the alien, I know where you can find him.
Hey, that's my spaghetti.
Again, Stan's whole mission in the show isn't just working for the CIA, it's protecting his family. And Roger is by definition part of his family. If he were to expose Roger to somebody who isn't a Smith and they went back and told the CIA, Roger and the rest of the family, Stan included, would be killed at worst or have their memories wiped at best or be thrown in prison forever. While Roger would get dissected like a lab rat. And Stan doesn't care that he'll get to be with a woman who he has no chance with. The sad part is, I actually find this episode kind of salvageable. See, the reveal that Scarlet was an alien bounty hunter honestly came out of nowhere. Like, I feel like I know what they're setting up for, but it really feels like they just needed an excuse for Stan to be wrong. And it sucks because I find the idea she's tracking Roger and can possibly see through his disguises, and was this close to killing him as Stan and Francine barely put him back together in time, actually kind of badass, in my opinion. Like, she seems really awesome. I would love a spinoff with her, but we never figure out how she knew, like if there's a special trick or whatever, or if she was tracking Roger for years and just now she got lucky, or maybe one of Roger's personas killed her whole family or whatever. Plus, I like the idea that the CIA, or the CIA we've gotten to know, aren't the only ones hunting Roger. Like we saw at Area 51, they know who Roger is, they can see through his disguises, maybe there's other people who do that. I think if they just focused on that, like made the point at the beginning that Scarlet was an alien bounty hunter, things would be a bit better, and maybe they could get rid of the creepy possessive crush thing, but the way it stands, it just feels like a first draft and a waste of a really good guest star.
Oh my God! Please kill this dog! End this!
Okay, I'll be honest, I tolerate dogs even if I am not a dog person. I mean, I have no problem with them, they're pretty cute. And yet even I disagree with what happens this episode. This episode reveals that Stan doesn't want a dog as a pet, despite all those other times Stan and the family had dogs, like during the pilot or during the Ladybugs.
5 years ago, you got Steve an old dog. We also had another dog named Fussy that you didn't like or something.
Francine, those were obviously dreams.
At least they're lampshading it. But Stan reveals there is a reason he hates dogs, and it'll make you hate his mother a lot more. When he was a kid, Betty lied to him and said that his dog was sick. Stan had to do the old yeller thing and put him down. But as it turns out, the dog was perfectly healthy. They just had to move to an apartment after Jack left because they couldn't afford it anymore. And the apartment did not allow for pets of any kind, rather than just give Freddie to a shelter or do it herself, the coward.
It's such a sad story that I won't even undercut it with a joke. I'm just gonna let it end sad.
Are you sure you don't want to come up with some joke to end it?
Nope.
That's terrible. Like, that's a perfectly innocent dog. Like, you just scarred your son for life because you were lazy. Actually, that defines Betty pretty well. But an episode of Stan learning to love a dog, I guess, has a lot of potential. And also a lot of gore that'll make you hug your own dog close to your chest for dear life and never want to let go. Francine gets Steve a dog named Kisses, and slowly but surely, Stan bonds with Kisses, which is pretty cute to see, I hate to argue.
Oh my god, what a cute little yawn! What a tired little baby!
But then you remember this is American Dad, and something terrible will befall Kisses. And not something like Kisses just gets sick and dies or goes ahead and runs away from home. No, he gets horribly flattened and squished by cat pirates. Not making this crap up, but I actually find that weirdly funny. And the vet tells Stan in no uncertain terms that Kisses is going to die, and he deserves a clean, painless death by having the plug pulled.
Pull the plug?
Oh God! It's so sad! Ah! Oh! No! No!
Now, again, this could have been a good concept, like Terry Schiavo with a dog, Stan dealing with the death of a pet, and making a difficult decision. George Lopez did an episode on that with Mr. Needles, and maybe we could see the aftermath, like the dog dies and Stan has to fulfill a promise or something, or the dog lives and Stan has to fulfill a promise or something. But this is where it enters avoid at all costs for me. First off, Roger is jealous of a freaking dog. Think of how he was with AJ, where he almost drowned a baby because he did not get a certain modicum of attention. And he spends the whole episode rubbing it in Steve's face that his beloved pet is gruesomely dying while he gets to live. And he's never called out for it by anyone. Not Haley, not Francine. They're not like, dude, not funny, wrong time.
Is that Kisses? Oh my god! Oh no! No, now this dog I like.
Somebody please slap him, please. Like, that's too far, dude. Like, that is not necessary. Also, this necessarily isn't a turnoff for me, but I have heard some people, they consider Steve screaming to be one of the worst parts of the episode. I mean, they hate Steve screaming in general, but basically half of this episode is just him screaming.
It's not fair! Why him? Why? No, take me! Take me, take me! Oh my god!
Personally, it doesn't bother me most of the time, and it doesn't bother me here, but I just know for some people it does make the episode unbearable, so as a critic, it is my job to warn you. Oh, but it gets worse. Stan tries to play God by taking Kisses to Dr. Lizzie, an alternative vet who saves pets. Hey, that rhymes. And yes, she's a quack. Like, way worse than a quack. She makes Stella of the Ars Goetia and her brother Elsa look like rational thinking adults. Her version of saving Kisses is putting him in a state of perpetual considerable agony and degrading him. Like, just because he has to live.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah, this episode makes a good case for euthanasia and death with dignity, and Dr. Lizzie describes the process and, well...
Dogs deserve dignity too, sir.
Is his head a baseball mitt?
Softball mitt. Know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, PTW, Dr. Lizzie gets away with all of this. That just makes it worse. Stan doesn't beat her up for what she did to Kisses, or to his car, or alert the authorities to her. She just goes on doing what she's doing. Like, at one point they're like, oh, she's crazy, but I assume she's probably still mutilating animals and cars in the name of science. Like, oh my god, that poor dog, you horrible, deranged mad woman. Stan eventually has a dream of Freddy telling him the obvious, and decides to finally put Kisses down for good. But not at all dignified or painless. Like, his version is to blow up Kisses with dynamite. Like, this poor dog cannot catch a break. Like, obviously, I'd never do something like this, but I'm sure there's better ways. The vet offered some suggestions at the beginning of this whole debacle, but at least Kisses is happily playing with Freddy. Also, this is one of those episodes where I hate the subplot in addition to the main plot. Because no offense, for most of these episodes, one reason I don't totally mind them is the subplot offsets the main plot for me. Like, Virtual Insanity features the super good plot where Roger becomes a limo driver and then viciously kills a group of frat boys because he did not get $20. So even if I might find the main plot kind of gross or boring, I'll gladly skip through it for the B plot, or just watch all the naughty bits until I get to Roger's limo horn. Here, it doesn't provide a good distraction for me. See, Kisses is being put on life support, and then makes Jeff and Haley realize they should at least have a will, which is a good B-plot, and honestly a good idea if you're married, even if you are young, because unfortunately, stuff happens. Jeff learns that he has a bunch of stocks because he was married once, but he gave them all to his stepdaughter as a birthday present, meaning he could have been rich, but he's Jeff. They track down the stepdaughter, but the lawyer marries her, and Jeff offers to pay for the wedding, even if the lawyer only admits he's doing it to get her money, and that's it. Nothing happens, it's not my favorite. I mean, it's cool Jeff lore to find out he has an adult stepdaughter, but it never really comes up again, and it just feels like a waste of time. Even Steve puts it best.
Why did you guys drag me out here to listen to this boring lawyer stuff?
He has a point, guys. He has a point.